Hey everybody, let's take a break from the text and see what the commentaries have to say in this edition of Comcast. So here it is, the big meeting between Paro, king of Egypt, and Yaakov, leader of the Jewish people, and you would expect it to be this epic exchange, this wonderful conversation, but in fact, it is the weirdest thing you could have possibly imagined. It begins with Paro asking Yaakov a very rude question. How old are you? That's a very strange thing to ask somebody. It's rude to ask the question in general, and it's especially rude to ask it when it's the first time you're meeting somebody. You could probably think of better things to ask than someone's age. But not only is the question a rude question, but the way Paro asks the question is also very strange. He asks Yaakov's age both in terms of days and years. Yemei shnei chayecha. Why didn't he just ask him in terms of his years? That's the common way of asking someone's age. See, here we have two explanations. The first by Sforno. And Sforno says, look, you can't blame Paro for asking the question. It was a rude question, for sure. But you can't blame him. He had never seen anyone who looked so old before. Yaakov at this time was 130 years old. And Paro had never seen anyone live this long before. I guess in Egypt they died much younger. And so when Paro saw Yaakov, who looked very old with a long beard and probably hunched over, he was shocked. And so he couldn't help himself by asking, "My God, how old are you?" That's Forno. According to Kli Yakar, it wasn't meant as a rude question. In fact, Paro had his own self-interest involved here when he asked it. You see, Paro was told that when Yaakov's family came to Mitzrayim, the water levels in the Nile suddenly began to rise again. During these last 2 years of drought, the water levels lowered. That's what happens when there's no rain. The water levels in natural bodies of water, like the Nile, start to lower. And so obviously something special was going on here with the arrival of Yaakov and his family. And Paro assumed that it had to do with Yaakov himself. Yaakov, the leader of the family, was probably the reason why the Nile water levels started to rise. And so when he asked Yaakov how old he was, he wanted to try to determine how much longer Yaakov might actually live, because Paro was thinking that as long as Yaakov was around, these miracles would continue. So whether you take Sforno or Kli Yakar, Paro is trying to figure out Yaakov's age, either because he has never seen anyone this old before, that's Sforno, or because he wanted to try to figure out how much longer Yaakov might actually live so that he could continue to bring blessings to Egypt with his presence.